Welcome back to How to Build Software Without Coding. I'm Mr. Hackathon and I show you how to build software without coding. And in this tutorial, we're going to do something really interesting. We are going to create a real working application from our custom AI model. So what I've done here is I've created a custom AI model using Riku. If we just take a look at Riku really quick. Riku is a no-code platform that allows you to build custom models without coding, that is. And so we built that, and that is in another video. And what we have here is an anime quote generator. And if I type in an emotion and I run the prompt, what we will see, or what we should see, is the outputs here. So people don't always understand. It's your fate to try and make others understand. You can't save them. So it's a little bit weird, but that's also because I didn't use much data for our data set, but we're going to use this now. And we're going to give it a front end with Glide. And we're going to use Google Sheets as our backend database. And we're going to use Make to tie all of this together. So if I jump to Google Sheets, you're going to want to create a Google Sheets for your database. And what I've done, I've just added one item, one row, just so when we connect it to Make understands the data structure. Now I have my one row. I'm actually going to go to Glide and I'm going to give this some kind of front end. And this front end wants to take the user input. It also wants to render the data in my database. Only these two things. I open Glide. I create a new project and I'm going to call it anime quote generator. I'm going to use Glide app. And here's where I connect it to my Google Sheets. Very, very simple. I just select my Google Sheet. And you will see almost immediately when this loads, for some reason it disappeared. Okay, anime quote generator, select. Okay, it's loading now. And immediately it renders the one row that I have. On the right, you will see you can change different styles. We can create a list style, tiles, cards, swipe, lots of different interesting styles. But what I am actually going to do for this homepage is I want to create a form. So what I'm going to do is just remove these. And I'm actually just going to add a button. And this is not going to be the most aesthetically pleasing application because I'm just focused on this tutorial showing you how to piece all of this together. But I'm going to say generate quote. And the action this has is show form on screen. So this shows the form. Right now the destination is users, but I want the destination to be quotes. And the only entry I want to take from the user is the emotion. And I'm going to tell them to type an emotion below. And it's required, and that's the only thing I'm going to ask from them. And here we have something interesting. We can change the action when they click the submit button. And what we're actually going to do before we change this action is we're going to create a webhook. So we want Riku to generate the quote from our custom AI model. And the way we tie Glide and our backend to Riku is using make. What I'm going to do in make is I'm actually going to put this in a specific place. I'm going to create a new scenario, and a scenario is just an automation. And the first one I want to use is called webhook. This is how I send the data to make. I need a webhook, and I need to give it a webhook name. And from here, what I do, it gives me an address. And I need this address to tell Glide to send this input to make. The way I do this is I find the webhook action or trigger webhook. And I have to add a new webhook, and I'm adding the address. I'm just going to say make anime quote webhook. And I need to add values. So I've got the emotion. We don't need the quote, but what we do need is the current date and time, and that's going to be stored as current date. And I also need the user's email address, and that's going to be saved as user. So from here, what it should send is the emotion, the created date, and the user. We can see that right now our webhook is listening to understand the data structure. If I just type in sad, need to double check I did this all right. Okay, this is successfully determined. So it's picking up the data from Glide. If we run this again and just test this again, I type in angry. You can see it picked it up. We go to parameters, we go to emotion, angry, and we have all the data that we need. So what we're also going to do next is we're going to say to make, send the information to Riku. So here, the Riku module is by invitation only. And I'm going to first set this up and then show you how to get your invitation to the Riku module. What we're going to do is select run prompt. You're going to connect Riku with your credentials, and then it's as simple as you put your prompt ID and you put your input. So our input is going to be from our webhook, the emotion from our webhook, which is the value. Our prompt ID, if we head back to Riku, all we have to do is go to our prompt, select copy prompt ID, and then paste our prompt ID here and click OK. And so what I have to do now is show you how to actually get this module. So this module won't be accessible directly from Make. You have to get it through invite. And the way you're going to get it, if we go to Riku.ai and here we have integrations, we have Make. If we click on that, we're going to click on Make again. Oh, we don't need to click on Make again. So you have Connect to Make. And here it brings you to this screen and you just want to click install and it will give you the ability to actually use this inside your Make automation. Coming back to Make, what we have now is our webhook and we have Riku, and we want to actually test this. So I'm going to right click and run this module. I'm going to do an emotion and do sad again. Select OK and to see if this processes as expected. Okay, it processed and it generated text. You want to fight, try to live, because you can die anytime, but living takes true courage. So that is actually, I believe that is something very, very similar to something in my data set, if I can remember correctly. And again, if you are generating your own custom models, you need a fair amount of data for this to be really, really powerful and really effective. What we are then going to do is, after that, we want it to send it to our database, Google Sheets. So we're going to find the Google Sheets module, and we're going to add a row. And in that row, we're going to select the spreadsheet ID. And my spreadsheet ID is anime quote generator. The sheet name is quotes. It does have headers. We can select the emotion from our webhook. And we can select the quote from our Riku generated text. We can select the user from our webhook and the created date from our webhook. Oh, yeah, from our webhook. And so now we have all the values we need. We can test this. We're going to run this once, and now it's listening. And what we're going to do is we have quote generator. We're going to type in fear. You can see Riku's processing it, and it's added it to our spreadsheet. If we go to our backend database, we'll be able to see that it's added it to our backend database. And in order for this quote to be a lot better that it generates, we would have to apply fine tuning and improve our actual data set. So we're just making a little bit of adjustment here. So we have our front end, our form that generates the quotes. We're actually going to change this to something like generate. But we want to also display, or maybe I'll change this to home. We want to also display our results, and we're going to display our results on the same page. So we're actually going to remove this other tab that we have just by hiding it here, and it completely removes the tab. And then what we want to do is create an inline list. And this inline list is a component, and this inline list is going to map to our quotes source. And you can see immediately it shows our quotes, or it shows a portion of the data of the quotes. And what we're going to do is we are going to change this display to maybe cards. And what I'm going to do is change the content to doing that. I'm going to just remove the action to none. And I'm going to leave the rest as it is. Again, this is just a tutorial to show you how to connect the entire workflow. I'm going to add a separator and separate this, remove the line. So now we have a form that takes our input from the user, it sends it to make processes, it adds it to our Google Sheet. In our Google Sheet, it's displayed here. On the display, we do have to do something very specific, especially in the way I've configured it. So we do have to add some filtering options. So we want to filter the visibility to show the emotion. We only want, let's just see, we don't want to change the visibility. What we want to do, and I need to remove this, what we want to do is filter the data. We want to show the motion or the user is equal to the signed in user. And we're going to say the quote is not empty. So if there is an error and it doesn't generate our quote, it's not going to display here. So this is a very, very quick way to integrate your custom prompts with a no-code front end. So now what we can do is we can generate our quote. We have a very, very simple form that sends the information to make. What you do have to do in make too, if I just save this and I give this a name and then I save it, You do have to activate this. So right now it's not turned on. That's why I was always clicking run once, but you do want to turn this on so it runs on demand. But we have our form, we have our automation, and we can now display the results from our quote generator. If you have any questions about no code and AI, please feel free to either reach out to me privately on social media or just write in the comment section below.